You are focusing today on investments into schools and hospitals. What exactly are you proud to announce?
So, after years of neglect that really have left our schools and hospitals in a shocking state of disrepair, we are turning the tide on our public buildings. We're investing £1.2 billion in schools and hospitals right across England. We've got £750 million going into over 400 hospitals. And we're talking here about licking roofs, windows, upgrading electrics, and in schools, it's fundamental, like boilers, roofs, and asbestos. And obviously, this is investment in buildings, but fundamentally, it's about putting that focus back on our public services that we know will deliver excellence for every child in school, deliver appointments, more of them, and on time for the public, and really delivering on our plan for change.
You talk about boilers, roofs and asbestos in schools. Obviously, there was many headlines about the rack concrete in many of our schools that was leaving classrooms unusable. What is the situation there? How much has been made with regards to improvements and reversing some of that decline?
So you're absolutely right. The defining image of the last government was children literally learning under steel props. And I saw it for myself in my local area, and that fundamentally has to turn around. So many of those schools, they've all been clearly identified. We're working with them to make sure that this, is all fixed, put right, and doesn't happen again. It is going to take time because there is a huge amount of repair to take place, and also we want to get it right for the long term. Make sure it's really high quality, that we're really investing in that education. But all the schools have been identified. Some are in the school rebuilding programme. Others we're working with on a sort of case-by-case basis. But you're absolutely right. It's a priority for us. Every child should be learning in a safe and comfortable environment that maximises their outcomes if we're really going to deliver that excellence for every child.
You talk about maximising their outcomes. You talk about excellence for every child. The reality is many children will go to school hungry today because they are one of the 4.3 million who are in poverty. And a way that could be alleviated in some degree is changing the two-child benefit cap. So Keir yesterday saying that the government's determined to drive down child poverty. Bridget Phillipson saying it's a moral mission. So you're going to reverse that change?
So you're absolutely right. It's a priority for the government. That's why we established the Child Poverty Task Force, Ministerial Task Force, pretty much immediately on taking up government, because if we don't tackle that blight that poverty has on children's chances and life chances, that is a driving priority for us. But to be honest, we're already changing things to reduce child poverty. We're bringing down the cost of uniforms. No child family should be made poorer just because their child goes to school. We're bringing in breakfast clubs that's supporting not just with childcare, but also with better outcomes for children. We're investing in childcare. We're putting money back in parents' pockets. That will support reducing that horrifying number of children living in poverty that we inherited from the last government. But again, the Poverty Task Force will report later in the year about what we can do to pull as many levers as possible to reduce child poverty and to really improve children's life chances.
You can pull a lever immediately, though, by saying we're going to scrap the two-child benefit cap. All of the politicians, I'm sorry to say it, you're all playing politics with this, but there are kids who are hungry right now. There are parents who are struggling right now. They are looking for direction, and this can is being kicked down the road. We're looking. They need answers, and they're not getting them. They're getting politics.
To be honest, we're looking at right across government, and I don't actually believe there is one silver bullet to solving child poverty. I think it's about making sure that families are supported into work and that they want to support their children and making sure they can do that in the best way possible. It's about reducing the costs of items, whether that's energy, water, right across housing, making sure we have housing in place for families. This is a big, complex area. These numbers of children living in poverty have grown up over 14 years of a government that has fundamentally let down families and children, and we're determined to turn that round. And appreciate there are many levers that we are looking at as part of the task force, and we want to produce a report in the round to make sure that we're really maximising the opportunities and outcomes for children across the board. But you're absolutely right to identify the urgency of this issue, and it is a top priority for the government.
The Prime Minister has kind of indicated there potentially is going to be wiggle room on heating for pensioners. Looking at the Joseph Rowntree Foundation figures currently, poverty amongst children is at 30%, pensioners is below 20%. So you're prepared to make potential moves there, but not make commitments to the youngest in society, the people who you talk about a decade of national renewal. Well, if you want to put in the best investment, you're the schools minister, as you well know, invest in young people. 100 children a day, it's estimated, are falling into poverty under your government. But you're still saying we're looking at it and potentially something will be announced in the autumn.
Yeah, so I mean, we're working very hard straight away. We're legislating to make the changes that I've already identified. We, as a government, this is a number one priority for us, is making sure that we put money back into people's pockets. And fundamentally, that is the quickest way that we can support families right now with the cost of living, bringing it down. But we've seen inflation coming down. We've seen public sector pay going up. All of this is going towards supporting families and children and tackling some of these very fundamental issues that you absolutely are right to identify. And we're working very hard as a government to do that. But we have to do it in a way that keeps the economy stable, because the best way of supporting children and families out of the current predicament that they may be in is through growing the economy and keeping it strong, and then being able to invest in public services the way we are today in terms of the school infrastructure. But there is so much investment that we would like to see, and particularly in education, if we're going to maximise those outcomes for every child and really ensure that excellence for every child, we need to see the economy growing so that we can really invest in our children and our future.
You talk about education, and that's just my final question to you, is how concerned are you that when the children walk into their classrooms, their teachers won't be there because the National Education Union has gone on strike because of its concerns with regards to the way that you're looking to fund the pay rise, 1% coming out of school budgets? Well, it's all well and good the kids turning up if now the teachers aren't there to teach them because the pay settlement hasn't been agreed.
So we've done a huge amount of work to drive up attendance in schools. We know that the best way that children can improve their outcomes is by being in school. So yes, we want to see the teachers in school as well, supporting the children to improve their learning and their outcomes. We have given a very reasonable settlement to schools. We're asking for 1% in efficiencies, and that is across the public sector. We're looking at driving efficiency in the way that public services are delivered, but we're also supporting schools with, the vast majority of that increase, because we want to see that money go to the front line. We know that teaching is the number one factor in school that can support outcomes for children. That's why we're investing in teaching, we're investing in schools and their infrastructure, and we'll continue to invest in children to really turn their life chances around.
Joining us live from Newcastle, Schools Minister Catherine McKinnell. Good to have you with us. Thank you.